So loud. There we go. Get rid of the Instagram. All right. It's happening. Good morning. Oh, it's FriYAY all day. Excited. I'm excited because it's Friday, but I'm excited because tomorrow is not working day. I get to stay home tomorrow and be doing something other than being at work. I love work. I love what I do. I love being able to help people and talk about traffic safety and police stuff. And I get to have fun with everybody, but I really do enjoy what I do. But I like being at home with my family too. We are currently broadcasting on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But Twitter is a read-only thing. Yeah, you can watch, but you can't talk. You can't ask questions. And this show is all about you and your questions about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff. So if you've got questions, I would suggest you pop over to one of our other channels. And just because I thought it would be interesting, I also have this going out on the VoiceOver Cop channel on TikTok. So we're on 2 channels on TikTok. We're on 2 YouTubes, 2 Twitches, my LinkedIn, Facebook. Oh, and of course we have Instagram here. Now, Instagram, I can see your stuff. And Karam says, Eid Mubarak. I'm not pronouncing that right, but it's a happy Eid. So that is today. We saw festivities have kicked off and things are happening, I guess, since last night, since the moon. Was it since the moon came out? I am not learned in the holiday details, but I do know that people were talking about it all last night, and I've seen people congregating downtown for festival stuff, which is or for event stuff. So that's awesome. Hope you have a wonderful day. Now let's talk about what's happening today. Today. It is the 21st. Is it really the 21st? It is. My watch doesn't lie. 21st of April. Boy, April is flying by. The weather is changing constantly. It's like it doesn't know whether it's good weather or bad weather, but it is weather, and we are experiencing it. I had shorts on last week, as did most people, and now we have warmer stuff. But I'll take what I can get as long as it's not snowing or raining. I'm happy. And as soon as I say that, I realize it's going to be raining today. That the forecast is calling for it. Anyway, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I go live on social media to answer your traffic and police questions. We do it every day that I decide to show up for work. I say it like that, but really, I don't get much of a choice. I come to work Monday to Friday from 10, and I'm here on the camera from 10 to 11. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to address, and that is we're going to talk about Vision Zero. We're going to talk about what else are we going to talk about? We're going to have a guest pop in, and I'll let you guess who you think it might be, but we will have a guest. JD is not in the office, and my wonderful wife has elected to assist in that he or she will. I just read a comment popped up on my phone. I said he. No, my wife is not a he. My wife is a she. And I love her. So she is assisting me in replacing JD for a little bit, and my special guest has popped in, and I'll let you guess who you think it might be, and then when the camera's not even on yet, so we won't bring that person in yet. Vision Zero enforcement team. Is what we'll be talking about in just a second, but I want to make sure that everyone who's watching knows how to ask questions. So if you're on TikTok, you can ask them in the chat, and my wife will be putting the comments from the chat into another platform so I can read them. And if you are watching on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, or Facebook, just ask your question in the chat and I will see it. If you're on Instagram, same thing goes for you. I'll see it on a different device. And I see here, we have guesses. Is it going to be Aaron? It's not Aaron. They're not in the office, if that's a hint, and they've been on the show recently. Let's see here. I'm going to quickly. So yeah, if you're on Twitter, come over to YouTube. It's probably the easiest way to go. We'll try and do our best. It might be a slower show, but it's a Friday show, and a Friday's a celebration, so we don't want to rush a good thing. We'll take our time. Let's see here. Yes, profile button. I noticed that we don't have a check mark anymore on traffic services. It's I've applied for a gray one, but we haven't got it yet. So we are blue checkmarkless on the Toronto Police Traffic Services website. I don't understand. Okay, so Vision Zero is a enforcement team that focuses on Vision Zero concepts. In other words, we are trying to make the road safer, and we do that through education and enforcement. I'm the education guy. They're the enforcement people. Now, they are doing some enforcement that goes above and beyond the enforcement done by everybody else on the platform, or the platform, talking about social media, on the service, on the ground, out on the road. Yeah, they go out and issue tickets that focus on driver decisions, the choices that they make, because they're trying to change driver behavior one ticket at a time, and they do great work. They're focused on speeders, aggressive drivers, distracted drivers, impaired drivers, the people who choose to make our roads less safe. That's what they do, and they don't do regular radio calls. They don't go to collisions. They do not get distracted from their mission of changing driver behavior, and that's awesome. So what I'm trying to get at is, if you choose to speed, know that people are watching. If you choose to drive aggressively and put lives at risk, you're probably going to get caught. And although we can't catch everybody, we're certainly going to try. Now, today, the Vision Zero enforcement team are focused on enforcement efforts in 22 Division and 53 Division. Those are the neighborhoods of Etobicoke West Mall, Islington, the Queensway, Long Branch, Etobicoke, Lawrence Park, Mount Pleasant, Leaside, Thorncliffe. And that's just a couple of the neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play and deserve to be safe. That's the way it works. If it was your neighborhood, you'd want to know where we are and that we're spending time in your neighborhood. What's the song from Mr. Rogers? Oh, I can't think of it now. I grew up on Mr. Rogers. How come I can't think of the song? Apparently, today is not a good day for words. Dun, 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 dun. Come on, these are the people in your neighborhood. That's what it is. In your neighborhood. Yeah, I'm gonna write that. Do you know, special guest, what that song is? Do you know that these are the people of your neighborhood? I'm seeing a nod. Okay, so at least I'm not alone. Maybe we can say, we should learn that and sing it. Is that what you're saying? Oh, thumbs up. Okay. Let's see here. Wow, Twitter Blue's got 668,000 tweets on it's a trending tweet. All right, I've covered that. I can close the magical window of Twitter. Now, I have some questions that have come up. I want to acknowledge a few people before we get into it. We've got, of course, I already said hello to my wife, who's helping to admin and produce the show by taking those comments from TikTok and bringing them over to YouTube, or to the other side, which is actually Restream. Stephen Bell says good morning. Tim Shallow says good morning and happy FriYAY. FriYAY? What did you mean FriYAY? Is that a thing that I don't realize is a thing? All right. Before anybody says, why does Leo wife keep asking so many questions? She is posting as herself and asking on behalf of others. So, question, would police stop a car for tires sticking out of the fenders? Okay, we can talk about this. We've talked about this recently, and was there any other guess? I said I would acknowledge, and then I stopped acknowledging. Acknowledging? My goodness, words are not happening today. Mommy C4 says good morning. I just started reading questions. Let's see here. Abdullah has questions. We're going to get to all those. That's a good question. Master Technician, a lovely day in the neighborhood. Is that the name of the song? Or is it just a lovely day in the neighborhood that are you still at Jane and Finch? You still visiting? Because he's in Toronto, or has been in Toronto for a bit. Zombie says good morning. Nazir says hello, officer. Wavenly says good morning. Wavenly Adams. Tracy says good morning. The Canadian Show, how's it going? Okay, we've got Tracy guessed correctly. Logan is here, and based on Tracy actually guessing Logan, I bring Logan into the room. What's going on?
Hey, it's going. I just want to let you know it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be mine? Won't you be mine?
My neighbor. Isn't it? Won't you be my, not mine?
Neighbor.
Why would you be? Won't you be my? Won't you be my neighbor?
Specifically.
Won't
you be mine?
I don't think my wife will share. But I could be your neighbor. We've talked about this.
That's it.
Logan's trying to get me to move to Brooks, Alberta.
Yes, it's not going to happen, is it, Sean?
I don't know if it's going to happen, but I certainly like the idea of visiting. The idea of visiting is far more realistic than up and moving, because I don't know. I don't think I can do the live streams from there because I wouldn't be here. I need my backdrop.
Yes, and that is an amazing backdrop. I just have like a fluorescent vest. I tried to put like a blurry background on today, but
I saw it's blurry.
Yeah,
and the lights are off. You got the mood lighting going again.
Yes, my paleness of my gingerness comes through too much in the light. So
Gotcha. I'm watching here. Oh, I see the delay. Okay, I've got the live screen here, and I've got the delayed screen here. I got multiple windows going. And then I've even got the voiceover cop channel just in case it goes. And Adel says the Mr. Rogers Show song "It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood." That's the proper name. There you go. I may have to cue it up and play it.
You're gonna at this point we're committed.
Well, we have a thing in our house where we watch a movie or we see a new show, and whatever song was playing, we tend to download it and play it a thousand times. We subscribe to the Apple thing, so we get all the music all the time. So we saw Super Mario Brothers, and now we're listening to Jack Black sing Princess.
Isn't that so good?
Did you see it?
I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen the song and then the music video they did for it.
I haven't seen the whole video, but I saw a clip on TikTok.
Worth every
we saw the movie in the theaters, and I loved the popcorn. No, I really enjoyed the movie. I was not expecting to like it.
You mean it's not as good as the one from the early 90s?
There was a movie in the 90s for Mario
live action Mario Brothers.
I don't know if I remember that.
Oh, you're missing out.
I got to go back to this question that I started to. We started talking. This is just as I went on a rabbit hole, but we were talking about fenders and stuff. So here's the question again. Would police stop a car for tires sticking out of the fenders? So this really goes to the concept of what is legal, what isn't legal. You and I have talked about this before. Yeah. You cannot have a vehicle that has fenders sticking out fenders sticking out, tires sticking out beyond the fenders. It's illegal. We see them all the time.
Yeah.
Is it the biggest priority for police? No, we're focused on bigger stuff. But I will tell you, I've seen some amazing videos. I sent some to Sergeant Campbell yesterday by text. I saw a guy doing some silly dance beside a pickup truck, which catches his leg and then pulls him under it. It's kind of gruesome, but at the same time funny but it's a great example of you should not have oversized tires, because that's exactly what I try and illustrate when I'm talking about you. And same thing goes for you guys. We've talked about that.
Yeah, we have a lot of rural roads out here, and even in some of your rural communities, you get on a gravel road and those tires exceed the fender, get a lot of cracked windows, and especially if you factor that in with no mud flaps.
You gotta have both.
So,
so many cool things here. Okay, lots of questions. But I'm glad you were able to join us for FriYAY. It's
I love
nice.
FriYAY.
It's become a regular thing where you jumping in.
I've been saying FriYAY just in general now around here.
It's become. I mean, I've infected many minds.
Yeah,
there's stuff and things is a common statement in our office now.
Yeah,
it's good. It means it's working.
Yes,
the programming is
You've
working.
You've embedded yourself.
Here's another question from the TikTok. FaceTime during driving connected to CarPlay. FaceTime. So the only thing, well, how about this? What is it for you guys?
I would say no, because as soon as you look at the screen of your FaceTime, even if it's through your Apple CarPlay, our law says holding, viewing, or manipulating. So as soon as you're viewing that FaceTime, that's it.
So it's funny because we have. So for those who don't know, Logan is in Brooks, Alberta. There's a different traffic laws, or there are different traffic laws. There's the Traffic Safety Code as opposed, right? Traffic
Safety Act. Yeah.
Act. Act.
TSA. Yeah.
TSA. We are the Highway Traffic Act. So it's different. Different words, different acronyms, and different stuff. But the deal is that they're slightly different. So. We have the distracted driving laws, which cover handheld communication devices, handheld entertainment devices, and screens visible to the driver. And use. It's the use or so. If I'm holding my my phone, even if the battery is dead, I'm using it according to law. You're allowed to have the screen visible if it's in GPS mode, but you can't be watching a movie. You can't be FaceTiming.
Yeah.
And CarPlay, you can do stuff with your CarPlay, but really you got to focus on driving, because even in CarPlay can end up with careless driving. So what is the charge for using a cell phone while you're driving in Alberta?
$300 and 3 points off your license upon conviction.
Wow, you guys get a super bargain.
Yeah, I actually use Ontario as an example. Most of the time I pull people over when they start to complain about the cost. I said, you're lucky you don't live in Ontario.
Because in Ontario, it started at 1.25, and then has steadily continued to rise. I can't speak today. It's really a word day is not happening. FriYAY, in the words of left the building before I even entered it. And the deal is that this is the word. This is when I can't find a word. This is the new sound.
I like that.
So I like it.
I like the other one from yesterday though, the Ewok. Nobody gets that one. Yeah. Sounds like a feral cat
So it may
climbing up
very
the
well be a
walls.
feral cat impersonating an Ewok. So what was I saying? So for us, it's $615 is the current one. 3-day suspension on your first conviction, 7-day, I believe, on your second, 3 demerit points on your first conviction. It's pricey, and
It is.
it does really negatively affect your insurance and
Yeah.
and driver's license.
But I think there's like with us, it's it's your ticket, 3 points. It negatively affects your insurance too, but you guys are almost more of an incentive not to do it
That's
because
the
it
whole
just gets
idea.
worse though from there. Like there's first,
Yeah,
second,
that,
third offense.
but
Here
that's
it's
the
just
whole
the
thing
one.
for all tickets.
Yeah,
So yours is constant, the same things, just
always the
pay to
same.
pay to.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that like stunt driving, the more you get caught, the higher the ante. You should eventually we should just crush your car. A lot of
yeah,
people don't like that idea, but I think crushing the car is ultimately the way to go.
yeah. I
And
think
that is not
there
a
is a country that does that, doesn't it? Isn't it Australia?
Australia has hoon
Yeah.
laws. They crush cars. At least they used to. And we experimented, I think, with crushing cars. I don't think it ended very well, but yeah, apparently that's not advisable. But if they change the law appropriately, I think
Yeah.
that's a great thing. I definitely want to see automated enforcement come into play more. That's not the, and you have we talked about this a bit a while back, a couple episodes ago, where you said that you have is there a private company that's doing enforcement?
Yeah, so there's photo radar in some cities. Some cities it's ran by the municipality or the local government. Others, yeah, they contract private companies to come in and do it on their behalf. A lot of the smaller communities tend to do that. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. But we also have red light cameras like you guys have. So, automated enforcement, if it's used properly, it works effectively.
Right.
So
Just for a bunch of people who are on the voiceover cop TikTok, join us in the traffic services TikTok because you can actually get your questions typed out. I can't read the small print from and I got so many screens going on. I threw it on an extra on my personal phone so that you could actually see what's going on. And I don't normally have that chat live, but if you come over to traffic services, which is not on a phone, it's on it's actually the same stream that goes out to YouTube and Twitter and all the other platforms. It's a widescreen experience, but you can ask questions and then tell me what you think. I'm curious what you
you
think.
get to see us in widescreen.
Yeah, we actually get to see who I'm talking to because you can only see me right now on yeah, because
Maybe that's a good thing though, Sean.
well,
I just adjust the light.
I just dropped it. See that there you go.
Just
You
for the
can
sun. Oh yeah, look at
you
that.
can see
And now you can see both of us.
I had this phone balancing on a water bottle. And then I dropped it. Okay, it's balancing again. Right. Lots of questions coming in. Let's see. So yeah, go to the TikTok channel Traffic Services, and I'll shut down this live because it was a great experiment. I put it on before I went live, and I just left it on. And then the better version is Traffic Services. Now let's see here. We have questions about the law regarding the consumption of cannabis and driving.
Ooh.
Well, that's Canada wide. Actually, do you have any other way of dealing with it besides the criminal code?
We do. So when it comes to the physical impairment, it's criminal code. You can be charged in Alberta under the Gaming, Liquor, and Cannabis Act for prohibited consumption in a vehicle, which is a $600 ticket.
So we have similar things.
So even if you're in the passenger seat, you can be charged for smoking it. You can be charged for having it in your possession in an open container in your vehicle, in and around either the driver or the occupant. But when it comes to the physical impairment of it, it is criminal code. We don't have provincial sanctions yet.
Because I hear about that happening in different places.
Yeah,
the deal in Ontario is
of it that they need to get, like, unlike alcohol, we have the ASD. It's just here, right?
Yeah.
Right now with cannabis, it's just an SFST, a standard field sobriety test, right?
We actually have
blood draws and everything else.
We have a buccal swab machine. You put
a
really? Q-tip in your mouth, and
we don't have that here yet.
You can check for having presence of THC, because if you have a restriction, you can have nothing in your system, then that would work really well. But there's different ways of doing things. You cannot have an open package of marijuana in reach of the driver, same as alcohol. So if you had a beer in its sealed format, you can buy singles now. It used to be you could only buy cases. So it used to be a single case full or a single can open. I think people used to deal with it differently than today. But a can that's sealed, legal to have in your car, could have in your pocket. As soon as it's cracked open, even if it's a screw cap and screwed down, that is no longer permitted. So for marijuana, if you buy it from a legal dispensary and it's sealed from the dispensary, it's legal that you can have it in your pocket, but you can't, once you break that seal, you cannot.
And that's exactly how it is here, except for the alcohol. If you even buy a brand new case of alcohol and it's within reach of you, it can be seized
Really?
and you can be charged. Yeah, you cannot have it in access.
What about a
And that's
bottle
the
of
difference
wine?
between
So, so you're
bottled
saying
wine.
so a bottle of wine, if it's corked, you can't drive it within reach?
You can't have it. You can't be able to access it, and that goes for even the passengers. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's the difference between the alcohol and the cannabis. The cannabis, you can have it in your pocket
So
if it's sealed.
I
But
guess because
alcohol, if I go to the liquor store, buy even a 6-pack, it's got to go in the trunk because if it's
interesting.
within reach of you, not even open, you can be charged.
See, that is different here.
Yeah.
You can have a can of a can of booze in your pocket as long as it's sealed from factory. It's not an issue. Okay. What is the ticket for turning left on a solid red light? I'm crossing guard and I see it a lot. Do you mean turning? It's well, if you didn't stop for the red light, turning left on a solid red light is running a red light.
Yeah.
And if you stopped before you went through the red light, it's proceed before green. But it's still it's an offense. It's not legal. I see a lot of people.
Stop sign ticket or your red light ticket.
How much is it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to shut down the TikTok stream to look up the. I don't know the number offhand.
We're 405 and 3.
Oh, you're double.
Yeah.
Okay, and I dropped the mount again. Okay, I'm shutting down this. Everyone here, there's about 30 people watching. I would love to have you join the Traffic Services channel. It's a TikTok channel. That's the Toronto Police main channel. I just threw this on before we went live, and I'm going to shut it down now because we're going to spend all our time there. And I'm going to use this phone to look up something for the stream. So the audio and video is much better on the other channel anyway. I will see you soon. Okay, I ended that. Pulling it up because now I as much as I want to say that I remember everything, I don't remember everything. Red light. That's what we said. We want to know about red light field to stop.
Yeah. Our stop sign is the same.
No, yours are the same.
Yeah, stop sign, red light, 405, 3 points.
Ours are different. $110 for a stop sign.
Wow.
Super discount. Red light failed to stop is $3.25 after victim fine surcharge.
Yeah.
So it's $260 plus the victim fine surcharge is $325 and 3 demerit points.
Gotcha.
Now, what was the other one you said? Stop sign.
Stop sign. Yeah, it was quite less, because ours is 405.
Well, you're more expensive than us on both. We have the lowest price tickets in the country.
With some things, again, your distracted driving laws are something a lot of provinces should follow. Because,
I agree.
Yeah, because ours is lax in that regard. So,
but for speeding, we are absolutely the cheapest. So, did you and I go through the scales? We did that once before.
Yeah.
We talked about 40 over. What would you charge? It wasn't as high. It wasn't as much of a difference as I thought it was.
40 over, you're going to be in the $400 range, mid $400 range.
So 40 actually. So we're $300 unless you're in a community safety zone. Then it goes to 607. Yeah. Okay. One thing, I don't know if you see this, going back to just finishing off with this whole red light business. People not stopping for right turns on reds. A right turn on red is legal in Alberta?
If you stop first. And
that's the key, right?
And there's no signs stating otherwise.
Yes.
You can. But if you fail it, it's still 405. 405 and 3 points.
Yeah, it would be the same point.
Up to that right turn and right through.
Well, I just can't get over how people just zip to the right.
Yeah.
There was a question about the operating hours to the MCIT. I don't know what the MCIT hours are. I don't know what the VZ hours are specifically. They work different shifts, and I tell people where they are, but I don't know what hours they work. Michael said M. His comment was M. Okay. Stone's Word TV statement is, are flashing left and right high beams legal for car meets and stuff? This is wig-wag lights.
Wig-wags.
You know what? Are you allowed to have them installed and not use them? But wig-wags are specifically prohibited under the HTA. I don't think you need to have them installed. But let's see. Let's read wig flashing.
Wig-wags.
Yeah, it used to be wig-wag was a specific.
So I know a couple of people out here who have bought old police cars, and they're still installed, like they're still a part of the vehicle. And if they're in the Walmart parking lot and they're having an actual car meet, and they're not driving, we encourage, turn all your lights on. If you've got them, turn them, whatever.
Yeah.
As long as they're not red and blue in the parking lot or any of our emergency colors, that's one thing.
Well, private property is a whole different thing.
Yeah. As soon as you get on the roadway, though, you you got to turn them off.
So it used to read wigwagon. They must have amended some things, but I see here prohibited use of alternating high beam headlights. No person shall use high beam headlamps that produce alternating flashes of white light on any vehicle other than a vehicle referred to in subsection 1, which is going to be a police vehicle.
Yeah.
But it's $110. Oddly enough, in a community safety zone, it's only $150. Like, that's a really small increase.
Yeah.
Then there's intermittent flashes of red light. That's a $110 ticket as well. Improper use of a green flashing light is going to be $110 unless you're in a commercial motor vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see the wigwag business anymore. I mean, private property, you can pretty much do what you want when it comes to lighting. But things like sirens, can't even have that installed on the vehicle, even if you're not using it. Leo Wife says, good morning, fellow YouTube friends, and good morning to Logan.
Hola.
Akela Draconis says, greetings and salutations, and sending a shout out to Sergeant Lawson. Okay, he reached out to you. Cool. I gave him your information. I don't know if he's watching or if he's in earshot, but I said it, and hopefully he heard that or read it. You can send him a link to the show and he can watch it. Okay. Morning. What is this? Mornings like this, I want to be a PC. Annoying driver fails to yield at always stop. Later, a Class 8 turns right from lane 1, turn in other place, and turned where prohibited. You know what? That's one thing. Like, before I was a police officer, I used to say that I would do this for free just to be able to write tickets to the people who break the law in front of me.
Yeah.
And you know what? I did. Being a patrol traffic officer, I'm basically waiting for someone to break the law in front of me.
Yeah.
Be annoyed and then write the ticket for it.
Yep.
It doesn't take very long.
Be honest, that's what it is, right? It doesn't take long.
I only wish I had a police car to take home so I could write them all the time.
And you know what? That's when the worst ones tend to happen.
Of course,
you're out all day looking for a specific car, or like you've got a bolo out.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you get in your personal vehicle, boom, there they are. It's like, how did that happen?
But that is why, and that is the reason for unmarked vehicles.
Yeah.
Nothing happens in front of, or less happens in front of a marked vehicle.
Yeah.
And it's one of the biggest reasons why unmarked vehicles are so important for enforcement. People say it's not fair. It's not fair. Then because we get caught. And I don't know why when you're on screen, I make funny voices.
Entrapment. I was like, well, it's not.
No, entrapment makes me laugh, so I appreciate them saying it.
The definition is a little off there.
It's a lot off. People generally don't understand what entrapment is. Yeah. But that is entertaining for me, so they can continue saying it. Entrapment, just for those who wonder what entrapment is, a speed trap is not entrapment. Yes, the word trap is in both, but that is it. That is as close to being similar as the deal is. Entrapment is if I say, hey, do you sell drugs? And they say no. Well, take these drugs and go sell it to that guy. And then that guy's a cop, and I gave you the drugs, and I just set you up. It's entrapment. But catching you doing what you chose to do on your own without interference is
even just being in like a marked PC, pulling up next to somebody and wanting to race them, getting them to race you, and then once you race them, you then slow down, pull them behind them, and pull them over and charge them.
That'd be entrapment.
that's entrapment.
Yeah. I gave you license to do it, but then you did it and I fooled you.
Yeah.
What's the laws on motorcycle filtering or lane splitting? I talk about this all the time. Yeah. What is the story for you guys?
We can't do it. I mean, you can't be splitting in between lanes, unsafe lane changes, the whole bit. Like, it's not. And even then, like when you're riding, you got to be offset. You can't be riding side by side.
Is that in law, that you have it in law there?
I'm pretty sure it is there. Yeah. But people do it all the time, and it's,
we ride like that, and it's not against the law specifically. It is it is unwise for those who are not trained or proficient riders.
Practice.
Yeah, not a good idea. But it could be careless driving. If you have two people riding side by side and they end up smacking into each other, it's obvious evidence that they were carelessly driving because they didn't do it right. But in terms of lane splitting, driving in between other vehicles within the same lane or in the dotted line even, is dangerous. And it could be careless driving, it could be stunt driving, could even be dangerous criminal driving, depending on the observations and depending on the speed differential. If you're walking your bike through stopped traffic, walking it, not under power, you're just doing the Fred Flintstone thing, I'd have very little issue with you.
Yeah.
If you're riding it, what happens if somebody zigs when you thought they were going to zag and now there's a collision? Exactly. And even more so, just the risk of it, even if nothing happens, it is increased risk. It is illegal. It's unsafe. Michael wishes he could lay charges for quote unquote dumb drivers, and so people don't think I'm putting words in his mouth. He put dumb drivers. But he put the quotes over drivers. Yeah.
I would have put over dumb, but
That just saying.
yeah.
But you know what? We've often joked that there should be a charge, that blanket charge for bad choices. But they've done better. They've given us specific charges. Yeah, you got weird stuff.
Blankets charge for stunting.
It is a really I find it really odd how you do it, but it's cool. It's different. I can't wrap my head around it.
It just covers so much, and it's pretty much if you're being stupid in your car and enough to cause attention to everyone else, it's stunting. So
right on.
It's kind of good.
Logan, question for you from Stephen Bell. What happens if you drive with no sticker on a plate in Alberta from Ontario? It's free. So, okay, so I want to qualify. If you drive an Ontario plated vehicle with no sticker and you drive to Ontario, or are you talking about if you drive an Alberta plated vehicle with no sticker? Do you have to have stickers or validation?
So we got rid of stickers in 2021, I believe. The province went away with stickers. So you don't get stickers on your vehicle. You renew, and you still, unlike you guys, just have to pay to renew, but they don't give you stickers anymore.
Okay.
So if you have old stickers on your car now, if you're listening from Alberta, you can take them off, but you don't get stickers anymore. Do you guys still do the stickers? I know it's free registration.
No more stickers, and it's free. If we still gave out stickers, it would be really not cost effective to make it free. But they've abolished the thing. You do renew online, and links to Ontarians who want to renew their license go to trafficcop.ca. And at the bottom of the page, I have a number of useful links. One of which is renewing your plates. So make sure it's renewed, because so many people are getting tickets for not renewing because they don't understand what the government did. They don't understand that you still have to pay. You still have to renew. You just don't have to pay. It's like me trying to find words on FriYAY.
The sticker is not going to be an issue. So
let's see here. Dr. Nick says, ministry website says I can use a service plate for transporting vehicle for business purposes. If a cop pulls me over, am I taking the vehicle across the and I'm taking a vehicle across province, do I have to provide proof? A service plate.
It's like a dealer plate?
A service plate is for doing a mechanical check, not driving it somewhere. I would say it's a misuse of the plate. I'd have to look into it further. Transporting it for business purposes. What? That's even worse. This is not a service plate is like a mechanic's plate. That's what we're talking about.
Test drive it.
If it's a mechanic's plate, it's like go around the block, make sure it's not ticking when you press the gas and isn't making squeaky noises when you press the brakes. It is not for driving it anywhere else. It is a simple check of the vehicle. If you're transporting it from one province to another, I don't understand how I think you need to look further into what the purposes and use cases are. I don't think going to, like, if you're for business purposes buying more toner for your laser printer, not acceptable. It has to be related to the vehicle. It may be business purposes, but that doesn't get covered.
Doesn't count as car service.
No, it's for testing vehicles. But I will do some further investigation on that, because I've never heard of anyone trying to do something like you've suggested. Let's see, a question from TikTok. What kind of fine or ticket you get for cutting off a trailer truck that's making a turn? Well, it depends. That's way too vague a question to give you a very specific answer. But you cut someone off, it's an unsafe move or lane change.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Unsafe.
Could be careless.
Yeah,
I mean, you could cause catastrophic collision.
Yeah, I mean, if they're changing lanes while they're doing it on their cell phone, like, there's so many different things that can come into play that could determine the type or level of charge. So,
but unsafe move or lane change is a really simple one.
Yeah.
That's probably the most appropriate. Although we can go with heavier charges, doesn't necessarily make sense. And we try and lay the most
I think you got
appropriate charge.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the appropriateness. The charge for unsafe move from lane or shoulder, 180 from lane or shoulder is 110. Aircraft unlawfully take off shows up for some reason when I search unsafe. So it's $110, or just in a highway situation, it's 110. Where a highway is being divided into clearly marked lanes for traffic, vehicle challenge. Yeah. That's generally what you're looking at, but it could be something else.
Yep.
I love how I'm so specific in my answers that there could be no wiggle room. What? Someone's moving furniture or something. I hear the wheels. Can you hear it?
Yep.
It's really loud in
A
my
little
ears.
creaky.
Yeah. It's always good to move furniture when we're live and drive into walls. Okay. It's going to be one of those days. Okay. Chase has a question. If I go through a bus priority light, vertical white line, is there a separate charge would you lay or just simply running a light? Maybe you get you both. You shouldn't be in that lane. So if you're responding to transit signals, but I love these. Chase is the king of questions nobody wants the answer to.
I can't relate to this because we don't have transit
Really?
like that here. So
I would say you're still going through, because it's not something that you should be misunderstanding, and misinterpreting. They're quite specific. I would just say run a red light, or proceed before green, because it's not a green light. So and it's nothing that it's a vertical white line. Like it's nothing that the average person would mistake for it. So question: e-bikes 32 kilometers an hour, can they legally go faster if we get insurance, license plates, etc.? So what are your e-bike laws?
So we've really mimicked what the federal, I guess the policies are for e-bikes. So it is 32 kilometers the fastest they can go to be on the street. You got to stick to the right-hand side of the road. You have to obey all other traffic laws like everyone else. Helmet is recommended, not so much required.
For us, it's required.
Yeah. But if it's over 32 kilometers an hour, it can't be on the road as of right now, because I don't even think the ministry here would register an e-bike.
They won't. There's no VIN number.
Right. So yeah, you can't. And if you are going faster than that, then yeah, there'll be a problem.
So here's the deal. In Ontario, and I assume it's going to be similar everywhere. An e-bike is a motor vehicle that is not legal for the road unless it meets the qualifications. The standards have to be that they. I was trying to pull up a picture of one, but an e-bike, as soon as it's capable of exceeding the speed, it doesn't have to be speeding. If you have an e-bike that will do 100 kilometers an hour, but you're doing 20, it's capable of going over. It's illegal. You can't have more than a 500 watt motor. You can't have it more than 120 kilos in weight. There's a whole bunch of things, and all that information is actually available here. So let me open that up. I happen to have it on my link tree, so I can share it with you. Okay. So talks about what the handlebar for steering, working pedals, 2 or 3 wheels. So you can have e-bikes with 3 wheels. Well, an electric motor braking system, 16 years old or older. Wear an approved bicycle or motorcycle helmet. Keep your bike in good working order. Follow the same rules. There's a whole bunch of things here. Here we go.
We're 12 years.
12 years older?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's different. Maximum assisted speed of 32. Now that so that means when the power is running. So if you can pedal your e-bike faster, you're okay. But if you're running on power, 32 is the max. 120 kilos, including weight of battery. 500 watts max. No modifications to allow it to exceed power outages greater than 500 watts or 32K.
So I just did a little bit of research on my end too, and I misspoke. You are required to wear a helmet, and it has to be a motorcycle style helmet.
Oh, bicycle helmet won't work?
No, it says motorcycle style. Like you talked about before I came on, there's so many laws that just, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but there's a lot of laws that need to be updated. And this is still such a new conveyance to be on the road, where laws just haven't really caught up to it yet.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of
interpretation, but law is interpretation. It's intentionally vague.
The standard 500 watt, it's across the board. I think we've all adopted it from what the feds have said, and that's
in terms of, can they go faster if you get insurance? If it's registered as a motor vehicle, you get a license plate, ownership, and insurance, then yeah, it would be a motorcycle at that point, because that does clearly meet the qualifications of a motorcycle. The deal is that you need a VIN number to register it, which means you'd have to take it to Transport Canada and have it accepted as a motor vehicle for the purposes of on-road use. It's a motor vehicle, and it can only be used off-road if it goes faster than 32 kilometers an hour, if it's capable of going faster. What did I want to pick up? This. So I'm doing a search for motorcycle. Hang on a second. I want to show a picture of one because this is really my favorite example. I've been posting this all the time. Motorcycle, e-bike. So there are electric motorcycles, and they meet all the requirements of being a motorcycle, and no one questions that is a motorcycle.
Yeah,
for some reason,
like a motorcycle.
Well, yeah, but there's people who say, well, but it's battery powered. It's not a motorcycle. No, power source. It's a new world. Power source doesn't mean anything.
And they're like dangerously fast. I mean, motorcycles in general are but I mean, holy moly.
Well, so here's an example. I searched motorcycle, and we'll put this back on screen for a second. Here you go. So these are e-bikes, all of them, but they're several of them look very much like motorcycles or have a motorcycle that runs on gas equivalent. The one that's in the top right, the largest picture there, is one that I've seen videos on that explain how to make it go 80 kilometers an hour.
If I saw that on the road, I would have no idea it was electric. No idea.
Some
I don't
people
know bikes very well, but I would even guess that was electric.
Some people are buying stickers that say AMO, which is a brand name, I think, and they're putting it on regular motorcycles and then trying to get away with not insurance. Anyway, that's clearly a problem. Yeah. But these are not e-bikes, in my opinion. They're motorcycles that happen to be limited to a lower speed, and
I would agree with that. Yeah,
I have issues with it. Apparently, I have a lot of issues, but this is the one I talk about today.
These shoes aren't big enough for these problems, Sean. Come on now.
Yeah, but this is a big thing, and even people who are cyclists, say those are motorcycles, not e-bikes, because they're offended because they want the protections and privileges of using pedelecs. Yeah. So a pedelec is something that you must pedal in order to move. It does not work if there is no throttle. Yeah, and many of these, if not most of them, have throttle only functioning, and you're driving either a low power or a high powered scooter. Yeah, Michael thinks that the Highway Traffic Act is a better name than the Traffic Safety Act. So he's calling you out, you and your peeps.
Tomato.
Frontier Gamer says we need to permanently revoke people's gaming permanently revoke people's privileges to drive. I'm telling you, today I tried to get more sleep. I watched Ted Lasso last night, and because of that, I'm totally blaming Ted for my lack of functionality today.
I get it.
Did you watch the series?
Oh yeah, we're right up to the latest.
Well, is that not the finale? That's the finale.
Oh, was it?
I was very sad because I got finale vibes.
Oh, ooh.
A second. Is Ted Lasso over? Okay, the first season, 10-year. Third season. Okay.
Don't ruin my day, Sean.
I'm sorry. I might have to. Oh. There's an article here. It says season 3 may not be the end after all.
Well, everybody kept talking about how season 3 was going to be the end, but it's picked up so much more ground over the last.
It's one of the best television shows ever made.
How can you stop doing it?
My wife and I agree. It's the best.
Yeah. They just won like Golden Globes for it, like or Emmys, whatever the TV. Like, how do you just be like, oh, we're done? We're done.
Did you like the episode?
I did. Yeah.
Did you watch the one that was from this Wednesday?
Yeah.
I liked it. But I was really upset
they found someone on a boat. It was finally time for them.
But they lost 2 telephones, and that annoyed me.
How awesome
I was waiting
that?
when there was a scene that involving telephones in water, and I wanted someone to put on snorkel and or scuba gear and get those phones.
Yeah, I watched those guys on TikTok that go down there and pick up the phones. I was waiting for that to come.
I was the subplot of what's happening with this phone. I want a whole series on where the phone goes.
Where those phones are. Are they still good? Are the batteries held up? Rabbit hole, Sean. We're going.
There was an opportunity for Apple to showcase their waterprooficity.
Right? Yeah. Never even thought of that. And they don't miss an opportunity to show their product
No,
on there.
this is obviously it's their product. It's that.
Exactly.
But I actually, I'm looking. There was Ghosted. They advertised Ghosted last night, or I saw previews for Ghosted. Have you
Oh,
seen
okay.
this? Apple
I
TV
think I've
has
seen the
Ghosted.
preview, yeah.
I want to watch that movie now, but I subscribe to Apple TV, so it's
Yeah.
okay. I'm going to watch it maybe even this weekend. And back onto traffic, which we actually are here to talk
That's
about.
what we have.
I got a ticket for speeding off a speed camera. I went 13 over. Is this something to fight or pay?
You always have the right to fight it. I mean, that is your right.
Actually, you don't
Here
really
you can.
have the right to pay. Well, they don't do trials in Toronto anymore for these things. It's someone sent me a piece of paper that explains that the dispute system is different now.
And we're still old school.
Well, generally speaking, you have an opportunity to fight things, but what are you going to fight it based on? You have photographic evidence of you going 13 over. And if you're saying I went 13 over, I'm assuming you went 13 over. So I can't give you legal advice.
I've had people come in where there's themselves and someone else almost in the picture, and they were like, well, the car in front of me is the one who went through, and there's almost showing two cars in the same picture.
I can see where there's
which one
questions
is it? So, but here you could contest it because we just have the traditional court system. But at the end of the day, it's an RO ticket, registered owner, and I assume it's the same for you.
Yes, it is.
So there'd be no points associated to it. And I know a lot of people get upset about the points, but like we've talked about before, points don't make a difference as far as insurance and everything else.
That's right.
Like it's going to affect you regardless. But
the only thing that points go to is the driver responsibility side of it, which is where you accumulate points and you get suspensions or get kicked out. That's it.
Yeah.
Michael says, Hoon laws. Canada should crush for repeat convictions of impaired, dangerous drivers or stunt. Yeah, you know what? I don't see a problem with that. Or at very least, take it away and sell it to somebody else. Why should we destroy something? Mind you, if it's unsafe, it should be destroyed. Oh, look at you.
We're not promoting it.
No, not at all. Of course.
I'm pretty pumped.
You paid for that, yeah. Can an e-bike be used for an M test? If it's a motorcycle, that's properly licensed and insured. Otherwise, no. An e-bike is not a motorcycle unless an e-bike that qualifies as an e-bike is not a motorcycle. In fact, in Ontario, it very specifically says if it is within these qualifications, it is deemed not to be a motor vehicle, which is how you get to treat it as a bicycle. Same thing for e-kick scooters. If it's under the pilot and it meets the requirements of the pilot, it is taken magically and mystically and it becomes not a motor vehicle.
Yeah.
But as soon as you modify it and it falls outside of that pilot, it goes back to being a motor vehicle. It was never not a motor vehicle. It just had special privileges. So no, you can't use it for an M-class. In fact, what you test in an M-class test determines what you'll be able to ride. So if you have a three-wheeler and you take your M test on a three-wheeler, you may be limited to only three-wheelers.
Limited to ride, yeah.
Yeah, you get a designation or a limitation on your license. Interesting. Is it true? Oh, is it true that you guys won't give tickets for drifting in the snow? No.
We'll
drifting
give a
is
hunting ticket for that.
Yeah, drifting is that intentional loss of traction. It is you being in a state of no control. Even if you think you're really good, you are not in proper control of that vehicle, and anything can happen. It's dangerous and unsafe, because unsafe and dangerous kind of go together, and it's illegal. So you get.
I think it's simple. If you're at a stop sign and you go to accelerate, and especially in like a half-ton truck where there's no weight in the back, if you go to accelerate and we see the back end slide, but then it stops and you've corrected it and then you've slowed and then you've carried on, fine. When it starts to slide and then you can hear the engine pick up and you can see it go out more, that's intentional.
If you're riding through an intersection at 45 degrees to the street and you just keep on trucking, that's a problem. But if you
correct it.
Yeah.
Doesn't make
a momentary loss of traction through trying to be a safe driver is different than an intentional loss of traction. So drifting, very specifically, is where you are continuously driving in that drift. It's not an oopsie-doo. It's an intentional do. Can you have a walkie-talkie in your car? Can you transport walkie-talkies? Sure. Can you use walkie-talkies while you're driving? No. Police can. Fire, ambulance, parking, people who are exempt under the HTA, and I don't know what it is going to be for you guys
you can't have
the same thing. CBs are not permitted. There's exceptions for everything, and there are multiple exceptions for different users. One of those users are licensed ham radio operators. Now, walkie-talkie is a communications device, and there's no walkie-talkie law. But under the HTA, you can have if you are a licensed ham radio operator, you can use your communication devices. It doesn't say which communication devices, which I think opens it up to all communication devices. So take a test for your ham radio license, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't have radios or anything in your car here. No walkie-talkies, no radios, no CB. Can't do anything.
Radios
like that.
being communication
The
radios.
government listens, and tinfoil hats don't work well. So we've just said no walkie-talkies.
Serious question.
Uh-oh.
Why can't I drive 140 on the highway in the fast lane with no traffic?
Because you'll hear that sound you just heard.
Yeah. Because it's illegal.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know any other way to say it. Speeding is anything over the posted limit. Doesn't matter if you're alone or if you're amongst others. Actually, it does. If you're doing 140 around others, you could be getting more tickets because you could be putting people at risk. It could be more than just speeding. If you're weaving in and out of traffic, it could be stunt driving, dangerous. It all depends. But simply the speed on its own is speeding. And if you do 10 kilometers more than that, you're looking at stunting just based on speed, not behavior. Although speeding is arguably behavior, but it's the additional behavior above speeding that would change it to stunting. And 140 on the highway, if everybody's doing 100, you got a 40 kilometer difference between the traffic, a gap in speed that adds to it, which would be a reason why people really wish that more people would speed, because then the differential would be less.
But to me, I think that's one of the more dangerous parts about speeding is if I'm looking to change lanes for whatever reason, and I look in my mirror and I see a car coming, I'm programmed to believe that they're doing the speed limit or within the speed limit. When you're doing, so let's say it's 100 kilometers an hour on your highway. If you're doing 40 more, you're going to close that gap so much quicker than someone doing 100. So I look, I got tons of time. Next thing you know, I'm going over and I'm now going in circles because you've rear-ended me because you're doing 40 kilometers more that I was not anticipating. It's so dangerous. It's just stupid.
But amazingly, the numpties who are speeding go, well, they shouldn't be going so slow. They should get out of our way. They're the problem, not the people speak. Do people actually hear themselves speak when they say that the person following the law is the person who's the problem on the highway because they want to go break the law and be fast? I actually have developed a level of anxiety trying to wrap my head around how people can blame lawful, law-abiding, good people for doing the right thing for being dangerous because they want to break. I cannot. And they argue. I made a. It was during one of the live streams, and I was talking about it. I made the suggestion that if you were trying to move at the speed limit, but people were trying to break into a bank and you were impeding their ability to do so at the rate of speed that they wanted to do it, would you be responsible? They said, well, that's not the same thing. You're comparing criminality to driving. It was a really horrible example. I admit it. But I couldn't. I'm just trying to think of something where it's against the law. And so let's change it. If I try and stop you from robbing a bank, am I liable? Like, should I be ticketed for interfering with? That's still a bad example. I can't give an example.
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
You're picking up what I'm putting down, but some people aren't, and I don't know how to put it into cartoonish things. But anyway, I'm going to move on because this just breaks my head. I'm not offended by it, but I'm confused as to how people can ask this question with a straight face on. Yeah, and maybe this is just a troll question.
Who knows? Yeah.
But here we go. Follow up. Is there a legal limit of consumption on G? Follow up on what? Maybe this was part of a longer question, but the deal is that so alcohol has definitely limitations as to how much you can have on it. There are legal limits as to how much you can consume. And that is where we get into operation. Do you mean, is it follow up on alcohol or drugs? I don't know. If it was the same person who asked about marijuana, you can't be impaired. What is the impairment? There's going to be a determination as to impairment based on either a sobriety test, like a SFST, a standard field sobriety test, or a drug recognition expert, or a buccal swab, or a blood test, I should say.
And then even I think there's a urine sample with cannabis.
Oh, is there? I'm not a breath. I'm not a breath or a drug expert. So, when it comes to impairment by alcohol, obviously 0.05 is the limit for legal driving in Ontario. Is it the same for you guys? 0.05.
So it's 0.05 to 0.799, and you're within provincial sanctions.
Yes,
and then 0.08, you're criminal.
Yeah, so same thing for us. So one means a roadside suspension for us. One means handcuffs for you. Yeah. Well, actually, no, the suspension's for you too.
You get it regardless. But.
Yeah, but we for the criminal, you're going to get a 90-day suspension upon being charged, and
that's on your full G, right?
Like it's regardless. Being criminal's criminal. And actually, for a learner, if you are 21, a novice driver or a young driver, 21 with a G, you still have to have 0 BAC. So you'd be getting a suspension immediately for having more than 0. But once you're at the threshold of 0.05 or to 0.079 or at 0.8, those just happen the way they naturally do. Yeah. All the gifts that come with it are yours. Wire exhaust illegal. At least low sound, not raspy. I know cops tolerate. So,
well, exhausts themselves are not illegal.
In fact, they're required.
And modified exhausts are illegal.
You have some pretty some heavy duty. Like if it's anything modified, it's done, right? Yeah. You cannot modify from
Alberta pretty much says that if you want to have anything fun and exciting on your car, it's against the law.
I don't dislike that
car at all. But like we've talked before, like some stuff is so tasteful and just looks good, but then it comes with the safety aspect. And then with the loud exhaust, there's nothing worse than being woken up at 11 o'clock at night because some idiot's going by with their Coke can freaking pipe on the back. It's like,
yeah,
we have loud and unnecessary noise. And then there's just having an altered exhaust.
So we're if you have no muffler, no resonator, you don't have a proper exhaust system.
That's different too.
Yeah. And that's one thing. Having a straight pipe obviously is no muffler. That's another charge. But having unnecessary noise being produced could be noise created by your stereo, your tires, your exhaust system, anything being emitted from the vehicle. So, And in terms of do cops tolerate? It's because there's no measurement for us. There's no like decibel meter that you have to hit. It's all based on what we can tolerate or what what's reasonable. And it may be different from one officer to that. It's definitely discretion. If your vehicle is loud-ish, but it's a 12-cylinder Lamborghini, not because I like Lamborghinis, but because it's got 12 cylinders, it's going to be a little more noisy than a 4-cylinder Honda stock. And if you drive it respectively and responsibly, it's going to create some more noise, but the key word is reasonable. It's not unreasonable.
It all depends on how much pressure hits the gas pedal. Will determine how loud most of them are.
Behavior is the number one dictator as to the amount of noise you're going to be creating. And I always say that you can have a brand new stock Civic off the lot, and you go and you red line, and someone said, well, now it's got a new CVT. They don't do that. If you are driving at 40 and you are doing it in such a way that it creates more noise than necessary to do that 40 kilometers an hour, it's unnecessary because you should be doing what's necessary. So there you go. Okay. What is the darkest tint that you can have on your vehicle? Front and side windows. What is this? And how wide can your tires go? Darkest tint. What are your tint laws? 0, right?
0. Can't have any.
I love your
nothing.
laws.
No brows. No passenger or driver side window tint.
0.
Unless it came from the physical manufacturer, not manufacturer has it, does it, and then sells it. I mean, from Detroit.
Not the dealership installed, actually out of the factory, inside, baked into the glass. It's if it came with glass, because they only sell what's approved. Yeah. Right? They will not. They cannot sell a vehicle that doesn't meet standard.
A lot of like newer high-end cars, like the new Jeep Wagoneer, Grand Wagoneer. There's some Mercedes and BMWs that are coming out, and they got that like
tinge
green hue in the glass.
That's different.
That's fine. But a lot of people are like, well, what about that? It's like that's from the manufacturer. That is in the glass. That's not a coating put on the glass.
It's not a film.
Yeah.
And the big thing is it's the aftermarket films. You can't mess with them. And I thought for a long time we were really trying to figure this one out with the green windshields because they look tinted.
Yeah.
But they may or may not be tinted. So if it's baked into the glass, it's part of it and it's been approved by Transport Canada, it's approved. Aftermarket, not approved.
Yeah.
And for us in Ontario, you can have up to 30% light blockage, meaning a tint that allows 70% of the light to come through. Now, it's important to say the following. If there's some factory tint, if there's some level of light blocking that is inherent in the stock glass, and you add more tint, the tint itself might be legal on a perfectly clear window, but in combination with your side mirror may actually now create more light blockage than is legal. So it has to be 30% light blockage maximum for safety, and that means 70% must get through. If it doesn't, your vehicle is unsafe, and we can pull your license plates. Now, there are additional things. Let's say it's legal for getting a certification, but we walk up and it's dark outside, and I look inside and I can't tell if there's anybody in the vehicle. I can't identify you. I can't see nothing. That's against the law. It wouldn't cause me to take your license plates, but it would cause me to write you a ticket for $110 for obscure the interior of a motor vehicle.
And you see, and that's where I'm like, then why even allow it?
I don't disagree with you.
Because if you're saying 30%, but then depending on the time of day or whatever, if you then still can't see, it's still an offense. Like, then why allow it?
I don't disagree with you.
No, I know.
It's a double standard.
It is.
It is confusing.
It's somewhat setting people up for failure in some cases if they're doing it the right way.
Yeah, mechanics. The 30% comes from the inspection guide that mechanics use to check the vehicle for safety. It is simply for safety verification. It gives a threshold for from taking it from a fine to taking it from an unsafe vehicle status and taking you off the road. So I understand why. So saying that it's legal is not me saying you should go get tint that is 30%. You just shouldn't. 5% tint. Now, 5% light blockage is different than 95% light blockage. And it confuses people because I have a video in our playlist where the guy opens the door and it looks like daylight compared to night. Like it's amazing how dark it is. And people are saying, well, that's not so dark. It's easy to see. I'm like, I don't know how your eyes work, but mine require light. But anyway, just saying. In terms of how wide your tires can go, they must be covered by fender flare and or mud flaps.
And in Alberta, they can't get so wide where it impacts the ability for the car to properly steer and turn.
Oh yeah, obviously they must not make contact with the fender or frame at any time.
Yeah, but at face value, as long as that fender's covering them.
Yeah, but if you put on, like, people put these added skirts on, give more space, and then suddenly they're going lock to lock and they're tearing rubber off or ripping their fenders apart. Here's a question from Frontier Gamer. When stopping at a stop sign or right on red, do you have to stop for a certain amount of time, or do you only need to have the vehicle completely stopped, all wheels stopped? I'll tell you what my test is, but there is no time. The amount of time is however long it takes for you to come to a complete stop, and a complete stop for me is described as follows. Your vehicle decelerates. There's a transfer of weight to the front tires because that's what happens. And then once you've come to a stop, there's a rock motion back, and your vehicle is now balanced. It is not, 90% of the weight on the front. Because you look at emergency stopping on a motorcycle, you transfer 95% of the stopping power to the front wheel, and you could almost have the back wheels barely touching the ground. Or you could lock up your tires and still slide, and that would be considered a stop if we're only looking for the wheels. We're looking for total stoppage and only proceeding upon it being safe.
Yep.
So,
well said.
I like it. I like that one. And I'll tell you something. I'm usually, or when doing enforcement in that area, very, very kind, and I give a lot of points for effort, which there are imperfect stops. So if someone rolled a stop but looked around, paid attention, they were still in motion, but they had come to a crawl, I would likely not write a ticket, although it is not a perfect stop.
Yeah.
But I have had people who accelerate through stop signs. I've had people pass other vehicles, stopped at stop signs to not stop. I've seen such horrendous behavior. Egregious is a better word.
Ooh.
Egregious behavior.
Yeah. Ooh.
And for that, that's one. And then I've had people where I pull out to stop them, and I follow them through 3 subsequent stop signs, which really aggravates me because I legally have to stop at all the stop signs, even if I'm going after someone who is not stopping for stop signs. I do catch them, but man, does it tick me off. Okay.
Yeah.
Do TPS enforce firearm storage laws? Not my department, but I imagine we do because we do firearms investigations and we do lay charges for it. So do we do inspections and whatnot? Again, I've never been involved in it. I don't know how it works. Do I need to cover my LED light bar if not being used? We've talked about this before.
Yeah, BC has laws for that. Absolutely. Here in Alberta, no. You also, though, can't turn them on a highway. And a highway here is like you guys, roadway, boulevard, alley, whatever. Yeah.
It's an off-road light only.
Yeah. There we go.
If I turn left at a T intersection, but there's a school bus on the right, should I still stop? I'll let you go first.
T intersection. So it's a 3-way stop?
Yeah, it's a T. I'm assuming they're on the crossbar of the T. They want to go left, and there's a bus here. So I realize everything's backwards and mishmash. I can draw it, but T intersection, they're turning left instead of right.
Lights activated?
We're going to assume they're activated, but they're not passing the school bus.
No,
they're
so
turning.
Then I would say as long as they made that stop safely and there's no traffic coming, yeah, absolutely go.
Yeah, you cannot pass the school bus. But if the school bus is on your right and you're turning left, you're not passing them.
Yeah.
I would use a lot of caution because kids do the darndest things.
Yeah, unpredictable.
Michael hates his what is this? Backspace 300 character limit. Yeah, there are a lot of people who dislike limits and characters and things of that nature. I totally with you, Michael. Okay, Big Jeff Fresh. Boy, this message is from 10:29, and that's a half an hour ago. We're a little behind in terms of questions, but good morning, Big Jeff Fresh. Are you allowed to tint the back lights? And if so, how dark can you go? Modifying your brake lights, bad. Sergeant Campbell, in the words of Sergeant Campbell, it's going to be a hard no.
Yeah, hard no.
A hard no. You cannot tint. Letter of law says it must be discernible at 150 meters. What is discernible? Well, I'll tell you that most manufacturers design things so that they meet the grade.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's manufactured with 150 meters in mind, it probably is good at 150, meaning that you are likely out of, approval the moment you tint it at all. And don't get me wrong, it looks cool to have blacked out stuff. Now, I had a particular car guy on TikTok who would chirp at me on these videos. He'd say, "Come on," he says, "just put on brighter light bulbs." And if you're cutting 50% basic on the tint, add a 50% brighter light bulb, maybe. But I will tell you this for certain: get into a collision, and we investigate, and we see tint. It's going in the report. And then the insurance companies will likely write down that there was tint because we wrote down there was tint, and likely change that balance of who's more responsible, and it'll be less in your favor.
Be on that canoe going down that creek.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's not good. Is there what is this? Is there a fine for GPS using fine for novice driver using a GPS installed in a not separate device? In car. So you're talking about an actual dedicated GPS? No, there's nothing wrong with using a GPS as long as you're not touching it or actively using it, because it could be careless driving, or in the case where the GPS is visible or is a screen on your phone, it could be use your cell phone. So there's no fine for novice drivers using it. We already covered this one. Why not putting this here? Frontier Gamer, stopping at stop. We talked about this already. It's a duplication.
Yeah,
we covered it. Do disability parking spots, this is another one, require a metal sign, or is pavement marking valid enough? Thank you.
In Alberta, paint means nothing.
Well, paint means nothing here too.
It has to be signage, proper, and it has to be the right approved sign.
Yeah, it has to have, for us, it has to be the bylaw, it has to be written on it. But forget all about that. Let's talk about just being a good human being. Those vehicle spaces are designed for people who need them, not for people who don't need them to get coffee quicker. So
that's what it is, laziness. Everybody wants to be closer to the door.
Yeah, I can tell you that I have an accessible permit because I have issues with mobility, and on days that I don't need it, I don't use it. And on days I do need it, I really need it. And if someone was using that spot that was meant for someone who needs help, I would be very unhappy and
Yeah.
not at all, not just unhappy. I'd be suffering because of it. And I'm someone who needs it less than somebody else sometimes, so I don't use it because somebody needs it more than me. My mother was very big on that. You know, she was in a lot of pain
Hmm.
due to her issues, and you know she'd still want to take the spot that wasn't, because she always assumed, even when she was in a wheelchair, that someone needed it more than her. So that's a big deal. So regardless of what's valid or not valid, be a good human. Like, really, the one thing that from the last couple of years that I liked, a lot I didn't like, but I like that whole concept of we're in this together.
Yeah.
Community is so important. Taking care of yourself, being a good neighbor, such a good concept that we seem to have forgotten. Uh, be a good neighbor. Oh, Chase says, this is going back to a conversation from an hour ago. The what's it called? The mechanics plate? I was calling it a mechanics plate.
Yeah.
He says it's not just for mechanics, and he knows stuff because he has Google and knowledge and things. It's also for people who customize or transport vehicles. Transporting for business purposes is listed as a valid reason. I'm glad that you clarified that. I still have to do some digging on my own
Hmm.
because we've always referred to it for very specific purposes. But because we have dealer plates and we take away mechanics plates from a lot of people for misuse. So I'd be very weary and very sure of yourself, because transporting for business purposes is a very blanket statement,
Yeah.
and I'd be very concerned. But I appreciate what you're saying. I just have to verify on my own because I don't want to give anyone bad information. So it's much better to say don't do it, and unless you can find express authority. But I won't give you that authority until I can verify it. Let's see. Big Jeff Fresh says, I know in Brampton we have a lot of turn lanes that buses are exempted and go straight through. What's the charge? It would be by sign, the prohibition. So if it says no straight through except for or it's a turn lane except for buses, that if you go through, you're disobeying the sign.
Yeah. We have that here too. Disobey a traffic control device. 243, I believe, and 2 points.
Ooh, yeah, disobey sign.
Yeah.
I think it's 3 points. I
Pretty
haven't
much any
played that in a
sign
long time.
or light that gives direction to traffic, if you fail it, that's what that one is for.
Okay. Stephen Bell, you're welcome. We got you a while ago. Let's have a look at this. What if two people are in the left and right lane? What if two people are in the left and right lane of a 3-lane and both attempt to move into the middle lane? Who has the right of way? Oh, you know what? You'd both be on the hook for unsafe move or lane change.
Should a collision or something occur?
Yeah. The
Yeah.
person to first enter it would be the person who would be more in the right than the other person. But why? This is where driving really becomes an art form.
Yeah.
If you know, watching somebody else's vehicle and looking for their tire tracking, not their tracks, but where they're going, where their placement is, where their movements, looking to look for signals, and why signaling is so important. But if you initiate your turn, you should still be paying attention as you turn to see someone who's trying to change lanes into your lane.
Yep.
And then you can respond and undo what you were doing before a collision occurs. Because if you're a driver who's switched on, you should be checking and then checking again and making your move. And you don't just ignore what's happening beside you as you're changing lanes.
You don't just put the blinders on it.
Yeah. So you're still responsible. And so it might be a 50-50 situation in the event of a collision for insurance purposes, and you might both get charged. But it all depends on what we can prove. It all depends on what evidence is there. If their evidence matches your evidence that you were both changing lanes, that sounds like both people should get charged situation.
Yeah.
And that's why dash cams and third-party witnesses are so great. But the witnesses aren't as reliable as dash cams are, because witnesses tend to see things how they perceive things,
Exactly.
as opposed to what actually may have happened. This is my favorite question, or one of my favorite questions. What are the consequences for driving by yourself with a G1? What are the consequences in your province for driving with a learner's permit?
Our equivalent to a G1 here in Alberta is a Class 7. And if you are driving with a Class 7 without an adequate supervisor sitting directly next to you,
Mhm.
it is a $324 ticket and 2 points off your license upon conviction.
Really? Anything
And
else?
I have a 3-strike rule myself. So after the third one, you go straight to court with a
Summons to court.
and you
So
will lose your license.
I like that. I like that a lot. For us, it's $110 fine. So we're a super discount bargain basement prices. On conviction, though, your first conviction, you get a 30-day suspension.
Ooh, I like that.
Even if you have your G class, if it takes 2 years till you get your court and you get a conviction, you're still going to see a 30-day suspension on your first. On your second conviction, it's a 90-day suspension. On the third, and I say final because you're going to get kicked out of the graduate licensing program. So you could be a day away from getting your G, and you get convicted, you will get kicked out of the program, and you start at zero.
Yep. I really wish we had something like that here, because we have a huge problem with learner drivers in our community, and it's a revolving door. I've stopped the same person 3 times in a day.
That's unacceptable.
Like, yeah, it's bad.
And I will say this: there's an additional charge available if you are you the owner of the vehicle, or you are the person who allowed the persons to take your vehicle, knowing that they had. We can charge that person.
Yeah, and it's a 324 for them as well.
That's awesome.
For us. No points, but 324. Yeah.
18-wheelers hitched with trailers allowed to drive in the express lane for many kilometers. I don't know about you guys, but although I grew up thinking that big rigs aren't allowed in the left lane, they are unless it's signed otherwise.
Yeah.
In Ontario.
Yeah, and to be very honest with you, I would assume it's probably the same, because I've never heard of commercial vehicles not being allowed to be in the left lane. Most of them don't just drive in the left lane here unless they're passing someone, and they don't.
And that's the thing, because
pass.
Ours are limited to 105, and
yeah, we don't have that.
The average speed of Lawbreaker is 120, so they wouldn't do that, because
our boys are doing like 120.
Oh, so really?
Oh yeah, well, because they're not governed here. Because our speed limits on our major highways are 110.
That makes me nervous. Oh, really? 110 is the speed limit, so they're only doing 10 over at that point.
Yeah,
it's less of a gap.
When our Alberta truckers go to Ontario, they love it because they just fly by all the Ontario trucks.
No, okay. Yeah. I think we should stop you at the border and attach some equipment.
Attach some equipment. Yeah.
Motorcycle style or DOT approved? Oh, this is a question about e-bikes.
Yeah, so it would be DOT approved. So it would have to be a true motorcycle approved helmet. Yeah.
Which could be a half
different
helmet.
than you have to get on your motorcycle.
Yeah, which could be a half helmet, could be nothing.
Yeah.
Frontier Gamer claims that that cyclists get offended by most things, and very appropriately added JK for joke, because he doesn't want the bicycle mafia after him.
We're like the vegans.
I can't comment about these things. You're in another province. You can do what you want.
Sorry.
I joke. I can say things. I choose not to, because I don't want the grief. What is the fine for 2 people in a car in a 3-person HOV lane? I don't know if we still have 3-person HOV lanes, but if there was a condition and you were breaking it, it's
that's like a carpool lane, right? Just for my
it's a misuse, and I think it's 110. I thought it was 150, but it's. I'm just going to do a quick search for high HOV, high occupancy, $110. Yeah, whatever. And 3 demerit points. Whew.
Really? Oh wow.
Yeah. The only message so far that's from my wife, well, actually, other than hellos, she loves Ted Lasso.
Yeah. If you haven't watched it, not to be too off topic, you got to watch it. And if you've watched it, then you need to go watch Wrexham AFC on Netflix, which is Ryan Reynolds' team that he's bought over in England. And as soon as you start watching that show, and then you go back to watching Ted Lasso,
it all makes more sense.
It's incredible to see how everything, because start to see.
Is it a real show?
Yeah.
Is it a show, or is it a team?
Docuseries?
Oh.
So he actually buys a team with the guy from It's Sunny in Philadelphia.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen that. Anyway, it's one of the actors in there. So they go and they buy this team in Wrexham, and they take it from being a losing team, and they actually get promoted into the next league.
Really?
So you're watching it, and if you've watched Ted Lasso, you're watching
The
a
real deal.
real life Ted Lasso. It's really cool. It's really good.
That's funny. I'm going to check it out. Do Alberta police wear body cams?
I like this question because recently the Alberta government has come out and has made it mandatory for all police services in Alberta to wear body cams.
Cool.
When is that going to start rolling out? I'm not 100%
Oh, it's
sure.
not okay. It hasn't happened yet, but
No,
the
but
law has been.
they're doing all the legislative stuff right now, but they have announced that it will happen. So RCMP, everyone in Alberta will have to wear body cams. Now, that is only for police services yet. Our Alberta Sheriff's Branch, as of yet, has not been affected by that. Fish and Wildlife, or even us, we have not been looped into that, but all police services will have to. Which it's accountability.
I'm
right?
all for it. Nothing defends a police officer better than the camera recording.
Yeah,
them.
my camera that I've used has gotten me out of some traffic issues in court. It's
He's good. I like it. A couple of things. I saw Jake here asked a question about dealer put illegal tints on used car. Buyer assumes it's okay. Dealer charges as well. No,
there's an onus on the
the driver is required. So many people say I bought the car like that. Doesn't matter how you bought the car. It must be to code.
Yeah.
And whoever certified it, if it didn't meet safety requirements at safety time, they could be potentially responsible. Any way you cut it, you're responsible for the stuff you do.
Mm-hmm.
This morning I was on Jerry Yeager. I was on more in the morning. They called me up to clarify about wheels off. What happens if a wheel comes off your vehicle? Who's responsible? We charge the driver. We can't go and say, well, you got your tires put on by Bob. Yeah, let's go find Bob and give him a ticket for not putting it. No, you're responsible as the driver. You may later go and try and take it up civilly with the person who put your tires on. But more often than not, if you look at your invoice for someone putting your tires on, it'll say come back after X number of kilometers to have it retorqued. If you don't do that, they're going to tell you to take a hike. They're going to defend themselves. But it's there's a lot of. I saw some gruesome video. This thing's bugging me today. Apparently, I need to shave my head because there's too much hair on the top of my head.
It's not sticking.
It's weird. It's like Velcro. There's a lot of liability. There is liability. That's what it is. And it's all on you as a driver. Even if you,
even the classic line of, it's not mine, it's in the car, but you're in the car with it, and there's no one else in the car.
Yeah, but it's sort of. But if it's an employer who gave you an unsafe vehicle and your commercial truck, like there's mixed liability. They can be held liable.
Owner liability,
but there's also liability for the driver.
Driver
you're
as
supposed
well.
to circle check and do. So this is why it's so important to keep track of the things you do and use and you're supposed to care for, because it means a big deal. What is a peace officer?
Well, that's a great question. Sean's a peace officer, believe it or not. Peace officer
the mayor.
In Alberta. Yeah, weird, eh? Peace officer in Alberta is we enforce municipal laws, provincial laws, and some federal laws, whereas a police officer enforces all municipal, provincial, and pretty much all federal. So, but as defined under the criminal code, we're all peace officers. So that's where sometimes it gets confusing.
A summons server who is in the process of serving summons is a piece of. There's a bunch of different things, and most of that's for the purposes of if they're assaulted, how it goes. If I live 6 months in Alberta and 6 months in Ontario, do I have to change my license every year as I go back and forth?
It's funny. We just had this issue with a gentleman here from Newfoundland, and if you live and work here, you have to have an Alberta driver's license.
And if you change, it's free. You just go and switch it over. If you are it's different in every province. I will say this, because if you are in Ontario as a student, you're from Alberta, but you come here as a student. Whilst you're a student, you are a resident here. You're living and working and schooling here. You're a resident. You need to change it within 6 days for your change of address. Well, actually, it's 30 days for changing. Upon becoming a resident, you have 30 days to change your vehicle over, and you have 60 days to change your license over. I don't know why it's not one date or one timer for all of it. And then whatever it is when you go back home. And is it a pain? Yeah. Do you still have to do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing I say is when your family's calling you and you're not answering your phone and they're worried if you're dead, we go to the address on file first. So anything you do to make the investigation.
So many people.
Oh,
nobody changes their license.
They need to. It makes our it determines how much time it takes to find you when we need to find you. Not because we want to hold you responsible for something, although it does work for that too. It really helps for when bad things might be happening and you need help. Where do we talked about this. What happens if you drive without a license? Well, then you're unlicensed. You get a ticket
Yep.
for driving without a license.
324 here.
Similar here.
And you,
I think
yeah.
it's similar. It's not exactly the same necessarily, but it's very
And if
similar.
you're suspended because you don't have a driver's license, well, then
That's
you're
different.
going straight to court.
Yeah, it's a summons.
Yeah.
Differences between a police officer and a peace officer. Says he's a peeve officer. So I have full police powers. My powers of arrest are different, and you have powers that are dictated based on how you were sworn. So you were sworn in, I'm assuming, to do certain things, and those are the things you can do. You may not have the full powers of police for arrest.
Yeah, so we have an appointment issued to us by the province of Alberta, and on that appointment, it says all the different types of legislation we can enforce. Some pieces of legislation, like the Traffic Safety Act or the Gaming, Liquor, and Cannabis Act, have arrest provisions within those pieces of legislation. If in the event I'm in the course of my duties, if a piece of legislation doesn't have arrest authorities, I do have 495 and can arrest for identification purposes, that kind of stuff.
And again, it
So
depends on what you have, and it's different for everybody.
exactly.
We have traffic control agents that are special constables that for the city.
Mhm.
They're only able to direct traffic. They don't have enforcement status. They
Yeah.
can't write you a ticket, which is good because they write every other car a ticket. They never direct traffic.
Yeah, exactly.
And then court officers who weren't able to previously direct traffic, but they were able to arrest people. Like it all depends, and different authorities
Yeah.
for different people. But that's the basic difference. The basic difference. Do you need a bicycle with 50cc registered to drive on the road? Maximum speed 30 kilometers an hour. E-bikes have electric power, and the legislation says electric power.
Yeah.
So it does not allow a 50cc motor vehicle to be used on the road. So that vehicle is not legal for the road. It's off-road only. I see
Mhm.
them on the road on a regular basis. Stop, educate, and if not, charge, because very often it's the same person again and again and again.
Yeah.
And that's a motor vehicle driving without insurance on the road. It's an illegal vehicle. It's unsafe for the road. There isn't appropriate. They're really. I mean, it's a bicycle. It's not intended to go super fast or have a drivetrain that is powered by a gas engine. I've seen some that are pretty. One had like a weed whacker engine on it.
Yeah. We have a guy in town doing that, and we stop him all the time. Same guy all the time.
See, that person should be getting a summons to court,
Yeah.
and when they don't follow up, they should go to jail.
Yep.
Is an M test similar to getting a G? Yes and no. It's a test, but it's a motorcycle test. You test it on different things. The basic rules of the road are similar, but there are elements of it that are actually the M test. I think is just I can't speak to it anymore. It's been so long since I've done mine. I don't even know what the M test includes now. I'm used to doing the requalification that we did annually as a motor officer, which was far beyond that of a G test or an M test. But it brings up an interesting question, because I'm interested in it. I find it interesting. What do you think about the idea of having annual testing for drivers? Do you think people should have to test every year to keep their license?
I think someone with a clean driving record, no. I think someone with multiple offenses on their record and they can show a consistency of breaking the law, yes. And I think that should be imposed for a certain period of time based on your conviction rate.
Well, what about someone who gets their license when they're 16 and never drives a car until they're 40, and they're a terrible driver, but they're still driving a car because they got their license?
Yeah.
But so I think that person
you're right
should.
In that case, yeah.
I think in that situation, if you're not actively using it, or even if you are actively using it, people have terrible habits, and maybe testing would be a good way of ironing that out. I know that's not a popular opinion, and I don't want to go.
I definitely
test
see where
every
you're coming
year.
from. Yeah,
but I think that
would be beneficial.
Maybe every 5 years, maybe every 3 years. But I think regular testing would likely be a good idea with some advanced training.
Like even if it's not a road test, just like a knowledge-based test.
Interesting.
With new laws maybe on them. Things have
or
changed.
You can just follow our channels.
Yeah.
If you subscribe to us, I think you get it out.
Do that. Sean's LinkedIn tree is where it's at.
Yeah, there you go. Who has more rank, local police or RCMP? More rank. Generally, they do different things. Because you have RCMP that handles local policing, right?
Yeah. So most of the West has RCMP as the provincial police service, whereas in like Ontario and Quebec and maybe Newfoundland, depending on how you look at it. They're there for like the big heavy federal stuff. So fraud, all that, like the big federal stuff. That's what they're there for. So I mean,
We
correct
very
me if I'm
different.
wrong, but
We have different areas that we deal with.
yeah,
And
they have
in
extra
Ontario, yeah, because in some areas, like in BC, I think they're municipal police and not just federal, not just provincial. They are the police if you go to BC.
Well, yeah, and the same here, right? So, but what I mean by provincial is like for most of the they're like the OPP. So if the city is not big enough to have,
Yes.
or if they don't have their own police service, you
okay.
have RCMP.
So they're doing municipal and
contracted
provincial
police.
and federal. So they
Yeah.
in some provinces they're everything.
Yeah.
For us, we have provincial, we have federal, they have a very small footprint in Ontario.
Yeah.
So, but in terms of if it's our investigation, they don't walk in like the movies. We're taking over.
We're
No,
taking over.
it's
Yeah,
not.
no.
It's our case. You want it? We'll probably give it to you with a bow on it because it means they're going to do the work. Yeah, but but the truth is that if we start an investigation, there may or may not be arguments as to who's doing what and why would we hand over an investigation. So it's not about a rank. It's maybe the chiefs, the bosses have conversations.
Yeah,
maybe, possibly. Let's see here. I don't know what the context is of the statement, but the Grinch says, that's like saying, why did you pull me over? I'm going to be late for work now.
If that's in regards to the speeding, we get that one all the time. I got to be somewhere. Like it's a funny story. I pulled over this lady the other day in a school zone. She was doing 45 in the 30. She was a teacher at the school.
Oh my.
And when I pulled her over, she jumped out immediately and said, well, I got to get to class. It's like, well, I'm going to be late.
Speeding slows you down. Speeding slows you down.
You'd have been doing a speed limit, you'd be in class.
Yeah, I have a poster.
No, I got to be somewhere. I have to go.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm important. I'm important. Get out of my way.
Like, come on.
I have a poster from when I was a kid. It says speeding slows you down. I love it.
Yeah.
I should get it framed.
Yeah, in the back where everyone can see it.
If you get arrested and the charges are withdrawn, how do you apply to get it removed from the record? If you're arrested and charges are withdrawn, it doesn't go on your record. They were withdrawn. Convictions go on your record. Everything else is a case file. The case file never goes anywhere because just because you had the charges withdrawn doesn't make you innocent. It just means that you didn't get a conviction registered, and there's a difference. And people get really upset about that.
Yeah.
The history doesn't go away. Yes, we investigated. Yes, we found grounds to lay charges. Lawyers do what lawyers do. Time frames happen. Doesn't make you innocent. Just means you weren't convicted. And there's a big difference. People say guilty or not guilty, and it's not black or white.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of in between.
And that's the interesting thing about the job. There is no black and white. Even some of the questions you get, it's like there's no one way to answer in a lot of cases because there's multiple ways you could get to the same answer.
Yeah.
Or, you look at it one way, I look at it a different way.
Sir, Sidhu says, pull up service plate on YouTube. I'm going to have to look at it, but I can't do it right now. This is totally the investigation I got to do afterwards. We're going to see what it says. If you get arrested and the church, no, that's not what I said. There's one waiting for me. What is the maximum speed I can go in the fast lane in Toronto?
Whatever the sign says.
Whatever the sign says. If the posted speed limit is 100, the legal limit is 100. Amazing.
It's funny how that works.
Shocking at the same time.
I won't say it the way I want to say it. In Quebec, I like how they have minimum and maximum.
I love that.
I do.
Yes.
Like
that.
And the minimum it's actually quite low. Like it's not like
40.
the minimum was within 10, right? I like that. And I think, I know from a budgetary standpoint, it would cost a ton of money to put all these extra signs up. But I think that's something that most provinces should do: put a minimum and a maximum.
I've seen actually on Highway 7
scared to drive on highways.
Oh yeah, don't go
on the highway.
No kidding. I've seen a minimum. I think I've seen. It might be that miraculous thing that I remember things that never really happened. But I believe that there was a minimum posted on Highway 7 in Richmond.
Really?
I believe there was once upon a time. I don't know if that is real.
I always loved it. I'd cross over because I'm from Cornwall, just cross over on the 401 and then boom.
Just look at the sign.
There was a sign, minimum, maximum. I love that.
I like the idea of having everything clearly listed so there's no confusion. But then I wouldn't be needed if that was the case. People would just know the law. There'd be signs for stuff.
Float in the middle.
Have you seen the new law about testing for roadside on drugs and alcohol? I don't know which new law you're referring to. If you're talking about the decision about roadside screening devices and alcohol, and that the officer basically has to have one on site, except for certain reasons that or a few exceptions where they can phone a friend. Otherwise, they should have it on. I've been looking into that at the decision, and we're aware of it, obviously, but I don't think it's as overwhelming and scary as people seem to think. So, if you haven't read up on it, essentially, previously we'd pull someone over, and if there was a suspicion of alcohol consumption, you'd phone a friend and say, "Bring me a box, bring me a roadside screening device." And now we don't do that. We won't call someone to bring it because that's considered unreasonable. But the big thing for me is if I believe you're impaired, I'm going to arrest you. I'm not going to have you blow into a box. So it doesn't change a thing for me.
Yeah. And if anything, that's going to happen more if it's a case of having to wait for a box. If, let's say, not every member has been trained, you're just going to see a lot of people get arrested now instead of waiting.
But I'm also ST trained, like all of our officers or at traffic services are. So, or almost all of them, if not all. Speed limit should be higher. I've driven in Europe, posted 130. Roads seem safer. Well, it's I don't know why it would seem safer if you're going faster, because that means you have less time to react to changes up ahead because you're going faster. But there's the big thing that you have to take into consideration with Europe, and I'm gonna give them big props. They have better drivers, and I say that without hesitation because they have higher standards to get licensed. You don't just get to, like, there's 90. I think someone sent me an email, said they have 90 hours of training. Like, you're lucky to get training. It's not even mandatory to get training. You can just go take the test, and if you're good, you're good. They really they really make you work. And I've spoken to Canadians.
It's expensive.
Yeah, super
to get your driver's license in Europe.
Prohibitive.
Because I almost think they want to limit drivers.
Yeah.
For environmental reasons and everything, like just because they have taxes on how big your engine is.
Yeah.
They have like everything.
So there was a chap that I was speaking to on LinkedIn who moved from Canada to Ireland, still doesn't have his license because they let him drive certain conditional things, and then it was so expensive and so onerous. He just said, forget about it. Yeah. Now he's been over 10 years on license. He has to start over again when he comes back to Canada.
Crazy.
Yeah. Apple Maps say speed limit is different than the signs posted. What do I listen to? I can't believe you've actually asked that question. Apple Maps is not the Apple Maps is not the law. The posted speed limit is the sign on the numbers on the sign of the law. That's what's enforceable. It's why can't, what is this?
I love that.
Why can't we have speed according to lanes, like have an actual fast lane that people can't actually get past? Well, first of all, the speed limit's the speed limit on every lane, and just leave early and give yourself more time. Have a relaxing, enjoyable drive to work or school or fun, and don't put people's lives at risk. Could you imagine? People can't drive now. You want to make rules that are conditional based on location? That is a recipe for disaster. Even making, like, there's a discussion about Idaho stops that the cycling community continuously brings up, and I don't buy into the Idaho stop. Maybe in environments or communities that are small, less population density, fewer cars on the road, and I appreciate that many cyclists, and Martin, someone I've been talking to who's very big on and pro bicycle, and I appreciate his stance. He's advocating for bicycle safety, but he's willing to take all other cars off the road to make it safe for bicycles. I live in a different reality where cars are part of the program, and you're not going to get rid of them. And kudos to him if he can get rid of all cars, whatever, I'll figure it out. But in the meantime, we look at the holistic everybody safety as opposed to just bicycle safety. It's everybody's safety. And I forgot where I was going with this, but totally went off topic and I lost my train of thought. Martin's fault.
That's a far stretch, I think. Wow, getting rid of cars for bicycles.
Well, and I'm exaggerating. He drives as well, but definitely he believes that there's a car-centric deal happening here, and everyone's pro car. And listen, cars and trucks are what get things to stores and deliveries and industry. And I don't know how you get rid of them. And maybe there are ways. I don't know what those are right now.
Not in our lifetime.
Well, I don't know. I like bikes. I like cars. I like trains. I like planes. I like all things that make us move. I like the ones that are fun too.
I like my
Uh,
skin, so I like
well, I
cars.
like you like you like surviving. Yeah, listen, biking and motorcycling and other modes of transportation are inherently less safe, I think,
Yeah.
and
I
and that would make him upset to
I
hear from
feel
me.
for a lot of cyclists and motor people who ride motorcycles just because of how little attention some motorists pay,
Well,
especially this time of year. Like our everybody's out on motorcycles right now here in where we live. So
but if you're a
yeah,
responsible motorcyclist, I feel sorry. If you're an idiot on a motorcycle, I don't feel sorry for you. And
yeah,
I'm sorry to
Crocs
say that
rocks.
I don't feel sorry because you're putting yourself at risk if you're driving like a bad guy or
Yeah,
girl or person. So driving the speed limit in the left lane, nobody can pressure me to change lanes. Clear for all. The speed limit is the speed limit in all lanes. Should you be hanging out at 100 when everybody else is doing 120? No, because you're going to cause a collision. Do I think that no, that the truth is I don't think that anybody should speed. And if you're doing
yeah,
100, that's the legal limit. So there should be nobody passing you because nobody is allowed to go faster. So there's no
yeah,
reason to pass you in a perfect world. But we have people who choose to pass you and choose to speed. And if you are forcing them, although illegal, I would happily take their cars and crush them. Not my purview, but at
yeah,
very
yeah.
least charge them up the wazoo for speeding. They're going to make bad moves and they're going to pass on the right and they're going to cause collisions.
Yep.
You could prevent that danger by staying out of the left lane and letting the bad drivers speed in the left lane. And you know what? Then I can focus my laser and my attention on the left lane
On the
and just
left lane.
peg them off all day
Yep.
long. That would be ideal. But you need to, yeah, if you're not actively passing, the law does support this. You need to be out of the left lane if you're not actively passing.
Yeah.
Obviously, gridlock is gridlock, but yeah, technically all lanes are the same speed, and there's no reason for you to go faster. Period. Okay, are we going to get radar for speeding like Alberta? I really hope we get automated enforcement everywhere. It would make I think our streets a lot safer.
Again, if it is used
Appropriately, not
for the
so
appropriate
you had mentioned
reasons.
that there were people, private companies doing this, and they were setting up like where it goes from 60 to 50 or in situations where there's
Yeah.
changes in speed.
And like people call it a transition zone. To me, there's no transition. You do the speed up until the point of the sign, and then you change your speed.
When it
You get a
says
lot of people going, oh, okay, it's going from a 50 to an 80. Within a block of coming to the 80, they're doing 70, transitioning to get to the 80.
no, that's not appropriate. Once
No,
the
it's
sign
not.
changes, that's where you accelerate. And if you're doing it ahead of it,
But
you're in the game.
they're setting up these systems in those places where they know from a revenue standpoint they can
But
bring in.
there's also an easy way to avoid getting caught and don't
Well,
break the
just do
law.
the speed, yeah. But
So
we like them because they're supposed to be in playground zones and school zones, but
mhm.
they a lot of times don't end up in the places
Well,
where
then
they
it should be
should be.
dictated specifically where they go, and
Yeah,
they should be not allowed to
yeah.
enforce elsewhere.
Calgary
Uh,
uses it quite a bit. Edmonton uses it a lot. So I think Medicine Hat uses it.
So I'm going to apply to the local auxiliary OPP where I live. What's the cutoff age to apply for the police? As I'm not old, but older. There is no cutoff anymore. In the States, they won't hire you because they won't get enough out of you. And if you're like, I had somebody in my class that was in their 50s, so I think you're okay. And
Yeah.
I started when I was 25 with the auxiliaries, so I think you're okay.
Yep.
I'm 17 with an M2. Can I carry a passenger on my motorcycle? What do you think?
What do
An
I
M2,
think?
you have well, M2 has no restrictions except alcohol.
Yeah.
M1 is where you can't have passengers. So yes, you can have a passenger.
So do you start with an M2 even with
M1.
a full G? Or M1.
So if you have a full G and you get a learner's permit, you still have an M1 is a learner's permit. Then you get an M2, which is your equivalent of G2, your probationary, and then you take your full M.
Oh wow. So here, if you don't have any license whatsoever and
Mhm.
you just want to ride, you start with a 6 graduated license. You start with a
Okay.
6 GDL. But if I go with a full 5, so like your full G, and ride my motorcycle, I get my 6. I just get the full 6
Really?
right away. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
I
have
don't
to
know
be on
how.
a graduated license program because I don't need to learn how to essentially drive the rules of the road because they've already got a full driver's license.
We do not have that. You still have to do
Okay.
everything. Yeah. I'm scrolling through because we've gone way over time, like
Oh,
way
have we?
over
Oh,
time. Well, like by 42 minutes late. We've been
sorry,
on for an
Sean.
hour and 42 minutes. We do this when we start yapping. I'm looking to see here if there's anything else.
I will say, I've seen a comment here. I can't remember where it went. I don't even remember what it is. I just know so there's one on here called Maple Leaf Role Play Community. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I
Have
I
you watched them on YouTube?
I can't say no. I have not. I've
They
seen
so they
some cop stuff, but I
they take
like
Grand Theft Auto
put
and
skins on it.
they do and it's like OPP and a lot of
Really?
times it's Toronto. So that's this comment. Yeah, I just thought it was funny. I used to watch when I was younger.
Do police
Yeah,
have interior facing dash cams? I'm scrolling through, and I apologize.
yes,
I'm going to be skipping a bunch of stuff here.
some do.
And yeah, we do. We have for the prisoner compartment where we take the
Yeah,
back seat has a camera in it. Do you hate car enthusiasts?
God
How
no.
you talk about people that modify gives the impression you don't. You
I
don't
love
what?
our car community here in Brooks and in just in general in Alberta. I love how passionate people can be about their cars and doing it right and doing it safely. Um, I love showing up to our lots here in town at night and everyone's gathering around. They're showing off their cars, showing it's great. Um, are there laws that affect a lot of the things on their cars? Yes. Um, but I think that's where discretion comes in, and having a good working relationship with our car communities is key, and ensuring that when they're operating, they're doing it safely and appropriately. And I love our car community, and I'm sure you probably do too.
Well,
So
I'm a car guy, so
yeah,
I'm part of the car community, or at
yeah,
least used to be, and I quite like cars. That's
yeah,
why that's why I'm so interested in cars and motorcycles. So it's not a matter of liking or not liking the car community. It's
yeah,
ensuring that people who are in the car community like and respect the laws governing the car community. It doesn't. I don't have a problem with people. I have a problem with people who break laws. So if you're someone who breaks the law, I have a problem with you. Whether you
yeah,
drive quickly or if you, it's all about, it's just all about the rules, and you got to follow them. It's amazing how that works. So yeah, I don't hate anybody. Let's see here. Can I cover my pin when my VIN when I'm parked? See, I didn't call it a VIN number this time.
yeah. I heard that last conversation because that doesn't make sense, does it? And I do it all the time. VIN number. It's like, well, the N is number.
I'm
I don't
looking
think
here.
we don't have any law that says you can't cover your VIN number. Like if you like you
No,
do, especially in like big cities like you guys where everybody's got parking permits on their dash. How often do you go around and like when I used to do it in Ottawa, oh my God, everyone's VIN was covered because parking tags were everywhere, parking permit numbers, all that stuff was everywhere. It can make it very difficult at times to determine who owns your vehicle or if we have to search it, stuff like that. But
trying to
you
look
know,
something up.
we'll get in.
Dr. Nick has a real problem with the fact that I don't know the ins and outs over service plates. Do you know what is your? Oh, you're a different province, so. But Dr. Nick really has a problem with me not knowing the answer to service plates. I got to look it up. Sorry.
You know what? I like that you're able to just be like, you know what? I don't know the answer to it. I'll look it up. A lot of people will just try and answer you, and then you run into the whole, well, Sean Shapiro said I could do this without
Well,
having the
but
appropriate information.
let me see here. Ontario service plates.
We know a lot. We don't know everything.
That's it. Let's see here. Renew. I want to find the answer, but I don't like taking time out of the show to find answers if I can avoid it. Let's see here. See, garage license. Garage license. I think we're talking about different things. Yeah, I don't want to look into this right now.
I think it'd be a big jump to say that you could take like a shop license plate and drive it across the province because you need to drop it off at someone else's shop or you're like that. If it's right, it's right, but it seems like a stretch to me.
Yeah. Let's see here. Dealer plate or service plate? Okay. Service plate. Service plates. You can get a service plate if you repair, customize, modify, manufacture, or transport motor vehicles or trailers. Okay. And I see that it says for transporting vehicle for business purposes. Okay. For towing a vehicle for business purposes. Yeah, it's not giving me enough. It's too vague.
Yeah.
Oh, here. Law about how to use them. Since we're now digging into this.
We're here now, Sean.
We are here. Okay. Now I'm reading the interpretation. So there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Just saying. Carry capacity, school bus plate. One second. Where's this section? And you see, it's giving me the whole bloody thing for permits. So here, I'll search it this way. It's just not as. See, and then I can't even search service plate on the page about service plates. So this is not something that I can just skip into and read.
It's not as clear cut.
No, but we're going to talk about it. We'll do it. We'll do it on Tuesday. I'm not here on Monday. There's a lot of stuff that's being repealed, like a lot.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing. If some people aren't aware of repeals, you could be looking at older legislation. So who knows? Yeah,
I got to look at. There's just way too much for me to read right now. But I will read it, Dr. Nick, regardless if it makes you happy. I'm sorry, it can't make everybody happy. I had a boss that once said, if he's not upsetting somebody every day, he's not doing his job. So I have succeeded, but that's totally different context. He was a boss. Yeah. My wife says it's after 11. That was 48 minutes ago or 30 minutes ago. I'm stopping. Let's see here.
Can we talk about the Harley raffle?
Harley raffle, harleyraffle.ca. Yes. And then we're going to, in fact, if I don't stop looking, I will continue looking. And yeah.
Switch off. It's got to switch off.
It's FriYAY. It's supposed to be a celebration. How did we get so deep into this stuff?
License plates.
Where is it? Why is it here? Window. Here we go. Share. HarleyRaffle.ca. It really is. My friend has one. He won it. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's right.
So HarleyRaffle.ca, you can buy your tickets, 1 for 20, 3 for 50, 8 for 100, and it's a great way to support Special Olympics Ontario. And I just realized how I've got a perfect excuse for why we went for almost 2 hours today. It's because I'm not going to be here Monday. So this is the double show.
You're doing a double show. Double whammy.
Yeah, see? Perfect. Makes sense. Let's see here. I'm looking for anything that's like show stopping. People are asking about the question was, what was the question? The question was, I just scrolled past it. Oh, enforcing e-bikes. When e-bikes are involved with stuff or we catch them, we do catch them and we do charge them. Are we out there checking every one of them? No, we don't have the ability to dedicate enforcement when there's so much more that needs attention, like so much higher priority. But we do deal with it as we come across it. Let's see here. Okay. Richard's got to go. All right. Good. Scrolling. Any plans for the weekend? That's a question that is here. My plans for the weekend are not be here. I've got to be on a little longer and in the with family stuff on the weekend, but that's it. And it's a perfect cue. I got to go. We will talk to you guys on Tuesday, but have a great weekend. And
thanks for having me again, Sean.
And thanks, Logan, for spending time with us.
Awesome. Always love doing this with you guys.
We are out and we'll see you later. Yeah, I'm going to leave you with the traffic song. Ooh. Take care, Logan.
Cheers, buddy.